do it. What's up with y'all? Y'all doing good? Doing great? That's what I like to hear. Let's see. Let's put some motivational type shit on. Shalom. Shalom. Let's do. What the fuck? See, like, what's up? That's crazy. Yeah. What the hell? Bruh. What? My fault, yeah. I'm trying to get my sound to work. But my sound not working.
So, I think, obviously, I understand you're setting it up, but I took the opportunity to really pound this home to everyone. Day trading attention means that I believe marketing has shifted to something that is minute by minute, second by second, not let's sit around a boardroom for 3 months and come up with an idea that will come out in 9 months. That world is super over. I know there's a new Seinfeld movie on Netflix that has Don Draper coming back, but he's super dead. And I think the industry is really struggling with Fortune 500. All the companies listed on the NASDAQ are really struggling with marketing, in my opinion, and I think they have bad reporting. I think that they are confused, and I believe that until the world realizes that organic social media right now is the single most important thing to understand in marketing, and then you build from there. Until that happens, we will see what we've been seeing, which is on the flip side, for every American Airlines or BMW, there are real significant businesses being built every day purely on social. And I'm not talking about the long tail of thousands of companies doing $5 million a year selling a health and wellness product or t-shirts or something on the side. I'm talking about the Poppies, the Prime Energy drinks, the Mr. Beastables. You're going to start seeing multi-billion-dollar revenue companies that are built purely from social, and that should make sense to everyone because a stunning percentage of the most famous people in the world right now came from and live within social. They're not actors and actresses in film and television. And so, I think I'm excited that I put out this book now because I went very nerdy with it. I went into very heavy detail of okay, that's what I have to say. It's not, especially if you pay attention to anything I've said, it's nothing I haven't been saying for a decade. What I'm proud about with this book is I'm showing people how to really think about it. This is much more a classroom textbook than it's a real blueprint. I mean, I think I wrote it for my employees, to be honest. I'm trying to get 2,000 employees to do this properly. I'm like, you know what? I'll just write a book and make them read it on onboarding. Everything else hasn't worked. Maybe this shit will work.
Sounds like maybe you also wrote it for the Fortune 500 companies. And what it sounds like you're saying is that what kept companies competitive for the last, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years is not what's going to keep them competitive for the next 2, 5, 10, 15, 20.
In a real way.
Yeah, and they really need to catch up. So with that though, what do you think is the opportunity here to actually do it? Because there's, especially when you're talking about Fortune 100, 200 companies, there's a lot of, old school systems, there's a lot of, to your point about we don't need to sit for 3 months and build a strategy and then, launch it in 9 months. How do you think about mindset change and how do you think about real change within organizations to adopt this kind of thinking?
I think real life, it's going to come down to pain. The real answer to your question, and I'd like to keep it real, is I don't believe they'll do it until they feel the pain that they're starting to feel. I believe that we have had more significant conversations. I look at Caitlin and Avery, who are my partners in crime in a lot of these combos, and many others in this room. We've had more real, last week, more real conversations where it's not just, hey, we need social media and we'd like to work with you, it's part of our mix, or we need it as a compliment. To put it in food terms for everyone here that's not deep in this vortex, on a good day, social media has been an amuse-bouche. It hasn't even been an appetizer or a dessert. And it's definitely not the main meal. What we're saying is it's the surf and the turf. It is the mainest meal there is. I would say we've had more conversations in the last month, 2 months, this year, about, okay, we're ready to take this serious, and it is only because they're feeling pain. They can smell it. They've got emerging brands taking market share, or a tertiary competitor that, out of desperation, has gone into this, and they can feel it. And so, what I love about this is I think merit is about to prevail. I think to answer your question, I think it's going to be pain, and I think the reason they're going to come to it is merit. For me, when all of you get to read the book, hopefully you will, I am only talking about social media because that's the biggest opportunity of underpriced scaled awareness right now. As a matter of fact, in this nanosecond, I just thought what I'm about to say. This book could actually become a dummy series for me. The subtitle's very important, this book. The book is called Day Trading Attention. I've done that my whole life. If I wrote this book in 2000, I'd be talking to you about websites, email, right, and search engines, right? And so when I look at this, it's called Day Trading Attention, but then the subtitles how to actually build brand and sales in the new social media world. in the new social media world, I can replace that every 5 years. I can literally write this book in 12 years in the new VR world because, for example, social's
Where's that
incredibly
5 years,
vulnerable
12
to
years?
VR because the second this doesn't become the primary device of our society, all of a sudden social media becomes dramatically less valuable. That is what has happened to television commercials. The television that we all grew up with is a tertiary device now. You do not go to a television and turn it on.
Basically, I'm just shaping the rips.
Between network
It's a
and cable.
long,
That is
dramatic process.
even boomers. I love when people think this is all for kids. Anybody here who is 70 or has 70-year-old parents know that half the content that their parents are consuming is YouTube. And at bare minimum, they're turning on a smart TV and they know how to go to streaming services. There's not a 95-year-old that doesn't consume a Netflix or a Hulu or a YouTube. It's over. And we are unfortunately, companies are holding on because of politics and corporate bullcrap. Everybody's stock price downstairs should be more valuable if they stop wasting money. And they waste more money on bad marketing than anything else they do.
So you've been at the forefront as you're talking about social media. And 10 years from now, right now we're talking about AI, and we can't really go anywhere without talking about AI, especially as it has to do with brand creative. It's taking over new ways to create content. We're talking about the fact that we're going to be interacting with AI bots. What is, 5 to 10 years, if we were looking back, since you've always been on the forefront, what do you think we will say about AI at this point?
It's funny. I've been at the forefront predominantly based on my little rant for the last 7 minutes. My forefront is I talk about today, and the world is all about yesterday. So, historically, even like all the images and quotes that have been running here today, they were set at the time. It's not like I said, TikTok is going to crush before it started crushing. I only talk about what's actually happening. So this question's always been challenging for me because I really don't predict. I just pontificate in the truth of the moment. That being said, of course, like any other human here, I have thoughts. I try to debate it. I have pattern recognition. Couple things. First, the AI conversation is really interesting because it's almost like, it feels to me like electricity. It's going to be so omni. AI is not like an app. It's like the oxygen. I was in a meeting today around AI legal maneuvers that we want to make as an organization, and I was like, man, none of this is like, we're talking about it, and already it's become so default. It's like, what is AI, right? And what I mean by that is automation, and then profound automation, how it thinks for you. But I see us in the meeting today talking about automation as AI, not just, and so it's so big. And so I guess in 5 or 10 years, I think we'll stop talking about it the way we're talking about it now, the way that nobody here talks about the internet. For everybody, who's over 42 in here, raise your hands. So everybody that just raised their hands, we used to talk about something called the internet. We would talk about it a lot. We're like, the internet's gonna, and the internet, and this internet, and we don't do that now. It's oxygen. And that's what's going to happen with AI in 10 years. We're not going to be talking about AI. It just is. And so it's that big. And I think every single human and every single organization will be massively affected by it. It's actually one of my greatest concerns as a human being right this nanosecond. It's almost like, I think the thing that has worked for me and what I admire in others is when they can think about 7 things, not one thing. So many people struggle because they look at things that they can only look at one thing at a time. And all the opportunity sits when you're able to take 7 to 50 different data points and make a strong observation. Critical thinking. Always something AI may be able to take away as an advantage. What I think is really interesting is I'm incredibly concerned that we live in a day and age where the human is more thoughtful than ever about work-life balance, mental and physical health, and it's actually beautiful. There's so much good about that. Obviously I'm a very well-documented, I love the grind, but that's only because I'm passionate about what I do for a living. When I'm not passionate about it, I don't want to do anything. There's a reason I was a poor student. There's a reason that I don't do things around the house. Like if I don't like it, you know, but I think this is really an interesting insight. Like if I don't like it, I don't want to do it, I have no passion for it, I'm giving it zero effort. So obviously I'm very well documented in believing in hard work and going hard and all this because I love it. I'm thrilled when people want to find their balance. I feel like I have my balance. Balance is individual. But here's a very, very like important conversation that's about to hit its head. At a time where people are like not interested in going to the office, are looking for more time than ever, we're gonna have a problem. That problem is humans are gonna be replaced by AI. And companies are gonna do it. Just like we did with tractors on farms. Farms used to employ everyone. Almost everybody on Earth, only a couple hundred years ago, worked on and was employed by a farm. And then tractors came along, and you didn't need as many people. This beautiful city, do you know how many people used to be employed here 120 years ago to clean up cow poop? A lot. But then the car came along, and we didn't need to ride horses anymore, thus rendering our not needing people to go around this city and clean up horse poop. There's not a creative person on earth that is a mason. An architect and a mason are two different things. If you sit in this room or you're watching this video or you're listening to this and you're the idea person, good news. AI is about to become your partner in thinking. But if you are not the idea person, if you're the person that opens up...
We're gonna make some different comparisons. That ain't it.
And a lot of people do that for a living.
Somewhat cow poop.
And when I say that, I'm not happy about that. I'm actually not happy, not sad, not pro, not con. It just is. My question is, every single Adobe designer or video editor knows that to be true. So no matter, what I just said was not some sort of like, that's impossible. We actually know it to be true. There's unlimited videos that are viral on the internet right now that were made in 1 second, that are profound. They used to cost thousands and tens of thousands of dollars and take 20 people. My question is, if you do that for a living, and you know what I just said is true, what are you doing about it? And so, I'm worried that we have this conversion, two things happening at the same time. At worst, an enormous amount of entitlement by human beings in first world countries. And at best, people being thoughtful about what they want in life and what balance they want. But all of it, technology's the best. But it also has one thing that is very, very challenging. It doesn't care about our feelings. Mm-hmm. And so this is gonna be, and it is gonna reshape our society. And I went through this 5-minute rant to beg someone who hears it, who is in the business of what AI is about to commoditize, to challenge themselves, to put themselves out of business before AI does it. And what I mean by that, if you don't understand, is adjust. I think about it. My agency gets paid lots and lots of money to make creative. So I think about this every day, and I think all of us should. And it goes pretty far. One of the things I don't think I touched on, maybe I touched on the book, all blurs together, but virtual influencers. Like everyone who's an influencer right now, who's really winning, is loving life. That turned out to be a great job, right? I mean, there's real pressure coming. It's called virtual influencers. And correct, that's right. And the brands have all sorts of feelings towards influencers. They pay a lot of money, then they don't post it the way they want, or do the thing they want, or do another brand deal with their competitor the day after the 6-month exclusive. So you know what they're gonna do about it? They're gonna create their own influencers. It's not only why not, they should. This is the thing that I found incredibly interesting about everything in life, and definitely in marketing and business. People act as if they're owed something. The fuck are you owed? Nothing. This is business. This is merit. This is, every influencer that got paid $1 today took that out of an actual celebrity 15 years ago. That's where that money went. So we're not crying for them. And the people that own the AI influencers are not going to cry for the influencers. I think that industry is going to get massively affected in the next 10 years. Humans will not be able to compete with AI humans. Nope. They're meat cheap. I'd rather pay an influencer that looks just like you and has just as many followers as you for $5 instead of, I don't think people understand how profound this is going to be.
What do you think? It sounds from what we were talking about earlier about companies, Fortune, the big companies that need to adjust. It sounds like people need to adjust too. When do you think? You said pain for
Pain.
companies.
99% of people change when pain happens. And the 1% wins.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Before we wrap
She
up,
still don't know what you
we
mean.
try to ask everyone this question, or I do at least. If you suspend reality and you had $1 billion, not to put a down payment for the jets, but to use it to spend to solve some kind of problem, what would it be?
Clean water. 800, this goes back to today. By the way, there's unlimited amounts of good answers to this question. The truth is, I'll give you my real practical one that I just gave you, and I'll give you one fantasy one. Clean water, because as we sit here today, 850 million people, almost more than 10% of our society cannot get to clean water in 12 hours. Women, which is the craziest part of this whole thing, women around the world, predominantly in Africa, parts of India, parts of Southeast Asia, walk 12 hours with a bucket on their head and fill it up with clean water and bring it back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Look, I don't think this is going to confuse anybody. There's 8 trillion injustices that we can think about. I just can't get over this one. We're all allowed to latch onto something. It's just something that I would like to see fixed. I'm on the board of Charity Water, or well member as they call it, and I'm really passionate about it. Like, look, we can disagree. Everyone can see the world differently. I just want to get these people water. Like, do you know how non-functional things are when you don't have that? You want to get into like female hygiene and like birth rates and like diseases. Like, this is what gets me crazy about like America. My favorite place, by the way. Flawed, but everything's flawed. Like, people complain about ridiculous things. Somebody probably complained that they missed the elevator up here just now and had to get the next one. Like we just get upset about things that matter nothing, and there's 850 million people. Now, my fantasy one, I would try to take that money and start to try to create, this is actually a movie cut. I'm gonna pitch this to everybody. I have this movie idea.
I'm gonna need jobs, so tell
This is why I started Boehner Watts secretly. I think I have an Oscar in me. I want to make a movie that has a theory that it's a really interesting opening scene to the movie. It's like the acting fake presidents and heads of like the health departments of Russia, China, America, India, like the world powers. And it's like confusing that they're all together because it's during these times where obviously everyone's fighting. And they call this world order like press conference to announce that they have figured out how to inject and extract personality traits. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. So please go to Fandango and download your. And so basically, the movie really plays out interestingly what happens when everyone's the same and different. But the reason I brought it up is this is like very tangible. The one that's least tangible is I think everything starts to work that everyone's worried about. Race, gender, countries, everything you care about, everything you talk about. I think all of it gets fixed the second we attack insecurity. I believe that the biggest issue in the world is that humans are predominantly insecure. And that leads to envy and jealousy and unhappiness. I just wish people genuinely could love themselves. And so I want to create a vaccine that instills actual self-esteem while it extracts insecurity, because I genuinely believe if that happened, then everybody would get this fantasy world that you dream about. The answer to the quiz, my friends, is insecurity. it drives everything. And on the flip side, all the good comes from pure self-esteem. You want your kids to be able to deal with social media? It's not deleting TikTok off the phone. It's at building actual self-esteem. The way we talk about social media today is the way that we talked about alcohol in this country in 1925. You can ban it, you can do anything you want. That's not the solution. The solution is understanding how to handle it. We are so incapable of handling judgment from other people that that's what's happening. So that's what I would spend $1 billion
Spectrum Internet te da las velocidades más confiables y sin límite de datos.
Cámbiate a Spectrum Internet por solo $49.99 al mes y ahora con el precio garantizado por 2 años al aumentar tu velocidad hasta 1 giga. Llama antes de las 6 p.m. y recibe instalación VIP gratis el mismo día.
I mean, I feel the same way. Oh, they gonna make me click a video. That's crazy. Let's see. How long is this video? I don't want to see shorts, brother. I want to see videos.
Is attention our most valuable asset today?
Yes, and not only today. Attention is how religion was built. Attention
This
is how nations
motherfucker's
were
an hour
built.
long. Let's play this.
Is there anything you can share around a piece of content that you created that led to maybe a 7,
This shit
maybe
gonna
9
get it
year
done.
video?
I made a video on my couch.
Yeah, what up, yeah?
That said Facebook should worry about Twitter.
Somebody's doing that.
It went viral to 500 of the right people. Most of the
Yeah, what up, yeah?
which led to Dave Moore.
I'm just working on my brand. It's my
At
brand.
Facebook at the time, which led to Mark Zuckerberg.
Now forever I make shit like this.
Walking down after I luckily said smart enough stuff that caught his attention, asking me for dinner.
just
And I
making
already
shit
had a
like
flight back to New York on the red eye, but I said, of course, I'm leaving tomorrow.
I make
We had
shit
dinner,
like
we
this.
started our relationship, and my investment in his company from his
Yeah.
parents' stock. A year later, I've never sold a single share of the company. This
Custom
was 4
pants and
years
stuff
before
like
the
that.
IPO. It IPO'd
You need
at
something?
$42 a share. It went down to $19
Just,
in the first 6 months. It's now
type this on
$500 a
Instagram.
share. And that was very, very good that I made that piece of content. Attention is the #1 asset.
Gary,
Everything to pop.
welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, first question I have,
Yeah, funny though.
how are you
Somebody
planning on
some
buying the
else.
New York Jets? How far off are
What
you?
we doing? The only thing necessary.
I think I plan on it by building
Come on, what's this?
2 meaningful, maybe 3 meaningful businesses
shit
that I
else to
own,
do, gang.
more so than, let's say, starting a fund or investing in. So the 2 big ones in my universe are VaynerX, the holding company that holds VaynerMedia and the other several marketing companies in that, and then VFriends, the intellectual property company that I started as an NFT project. And I feel like what I've always planned on with VaynerX
I appreciate
and
y'all for being
VaynerMedia
in
was to
here,
build
though.
a private equity firm on top of that. So I've always thought about my mission in marketing.
Comment where y'all from.
15 years ago was if I built the best
Comment y'all
contemporary
country.
marketing, I thought in Star Wars.
Comment
first.
y'all city.
If I built the
Comment
best
y'all
marketing
state.
Death Star in the world, meaning, and I used the Death
You know
Star.
where y'all from.
You know, if you're a Star Wars nerd, if it pointed its powers against a planet, it could blow up the planet.
Got any
Yeah.
friends
So if
that
I
make
could build
clothes?
the
Send this out to
marketing
them.
Death Star, whether I pointed
I
it
know it's
towards a
late.
bottled water or a political
Appreciate
campaign
y'all, like I
or
said.
a nonprofit, you know, whatever I pointed it to, if it always did remarkable, better than any other way that it could have done that, well, that would be the ultimate leverage in the business world.
Mhm.
And private equity is an industry I'm fascinated by because I think it's right, and I'm a business nerd. The idea of buying something and doing it better,
Yeah.
it's like fun. It's like
Yeah.
operations. That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
But I've always looked at it as they're good at operating, they're good at CFO, they're good at COO, they're good at CEO, they're good at financial
Bro, talking
arbitrage,
some
and they're
dumb
all,
shit.
and I mean the best ones, the Apollos, the Carlyles, the BlackRocks, they're all really bad at marketing, and I mean really bad. And I have some nice relationship with some of the top guys and gals in the game. And what you learn is they understand the Excel sheet of it all. They understand a lot, but marketing is a black hole for all of them. And that is consistent to what I see in the Fortune 500 ecosystem. I get to work with some of the biggest brands in the world, and it is very clear to me that the way I define marketing in a day trading attention and the way they define marketing is different. I've been able to find the middle so that we can work with them, but it is my everyday hope that when we work with them, that I'm moving them more towards our side of things, right? I always tell my people at Vayner, we get paid to think and strategize for them, not only run the media and do the creative and all that. And so all that leads to a long rant of the three entities that I think could get me to the kind of business success that could allow me to fulfill my fourth grade dream is VeeFriends, VaynerX, and this private equity firm that I'm going to build on top of VaynerX, meaning the talent from VaynerX will come over and will be the first private equity firm that creates hyper growth of the businesses we buy, not just operational efficiency. At 48, if I execute that for the next 20 years, at 68, I feel like I'm in a position to make that kind of play.
Got it. Did you always see it that way when you first started?
No. I mean, in third grade or fourth grade, when I was like, I'm going to buy the Jets, I didn't even know what that meant. That was just the time when I realized I wasn't good enough to play for the Jets anymore.
Yeah.
By third grade, big shout out to Wakeel Shaw and David Johnson and Rashawn Courtney, the kids that taught me in third and fourth grade that even though I had good hand-eye coordination and a lot of passion, I was not born with the God-gifted ability to juke out or out-athletic, have size, speed, or strength to compete at the highest levels.
Yeah.
And I was a very practical kid. By that time, I was like, okay, because first, second, third grade was I'm going to play sports when I grow up. Fourth grade was like, I'm a businessman. Because by then, lemonade stands, washing cars had come into my life. And then by sixth grade, I'm a baseball card ninja. Like I'm collecting and selling and making like real money for sixth grade 1985 or whatever it was. So back then, it was like, I didn't know. And then somewhere in high school, I realized I took a U-turn. I was going to take a little bit of time before I got to my own goals. I fell in love with my dad's business, the liquor store, and more importantly, I started collecting the emotional thoughts of how much I admired, appreciated, was grateful, and like deeply loved my parents. And by the time I was 16, 17, I also had a level of confidence because of the baseball cards in the liquor store that I had real entrepreneurial skill before it was this thing. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
You how old are you?
I'm 37.
So I'm enough older that maybe this will hit for you, but like you might have been the era where it first started hitting. But like when I was growing up, there was no such thing as entrepreneurship. It wasn't cool. There was no Gary V's. Right?
Yeah.
So like, I didn't even know, I thought I was going to be a businessman my whole life. That's what I said when I got bad grades. But I realized I wanted to do something for my parents. So I realized in high school, I'm going to go work in my dad's store. And I'm going to build the living shit out of that business for him. And that's what I did from 22 to 34. And that will, I have a very good feeling that when I'm in my 80s and 90s and I'm doing stuff like this, I will always refer to that as the best chapter of my career because unfortunately if I'm 90, there's a likelihood my dad won't be around at that point, and I will and I'm saying this for all the kids at home right now that are, let's say 10 to 20 and feel like they've got it. A lot of those kids want to not go into their family business and they want to go and like be better than their mom or dad, or they don't want to deal with the bullshit. I will say with this, I ate a lot of bullshit. I built my dad's business substantially for him. I worked 7-6 days a week constantly, and I made absolutely no money.
3 to 60 million, right?
3 to 60 million, 22 to 34 years old, never making $100,000 a year, like working every Saturday. Like it was retail. It was, but I sit here today, and even though at 34, when I started my now career that people know, no question at 34, there was some level of resentment lingering. It was small. 3, 4, 5% of like, fuck man, I built this huge business for my dad, I have no money. Like, especially once I started like putting up my head and seeing what the world was.
Yeah. Do you have regret?
Well, this is where I'm going, and I think you're gonna like this. And I'm trying to be very transparent here because I think it may inspire someone to join their family business that wasn't going to before hearing this. And I think they will meet me in 30 years and thank me for this. This is where I'm going. To your point, at the time I had resentment. It was small. I'm gonna paint numbers. 3, 4%, which wasn't bad. It was more like my dad and I would razz him a little bit. He would, you know, there was a little. I can tell you right now. Now there's zero. When I say there's zero regret, I already at 48 can tell you right to your face, it will be the single best decision I ever made professionally. Now I'm gonna get a little emotional. Those feelings, the fact that I know I have all those stories with my dad, it's insane, bro. I was just with my dad on spring break with my kids. It's just the best, like laughing on those inside jokes, joking about the fights now that used to piss me off, and yet I still had my whole life in front of me. Yes, I was 34 and didn't have a whole lot. Yes, I made a remarkably off the charts great decision in that transition of taking my $280,000 in savings and investing in Facebook and Twitter.
Buddy.
So of course that accelerated things.
Yeah.
But those two investments still sit in my bank, and everything I've lived on and built, I started from zero with VaynerMedia in a conference room like this with my brother from dead scratch at 34 and had plenty of time to get it done. And so what I'm saying, because I know this audience, because I admire this audience that is of your very successful show, I'm just going to say it nice and slow. If you're good enough, if you're great, if you've got it, if you're a player in this game of entrepreneurship, the years that you would go if you decide to go help your family business expand its restaurant business or dry cleaning business or whatever, you know, classic, often immigrant, but not always immigrant family businesses. If you go and give them 22 to 30, a couple things will happen. One, you're going to learn a lot of shit pretty fast because you're going to be in the trenches of a family business, not in a corporation where you're not learning any fucking real shit. Two, if you go straight into your game, that's epic. And I listen, I know if I was born in this era, I wouldn't have went into my dad's business. The internet would have been too much. It would have been too seductive. I would have made millions in high school, let alone, you know, so I think that's real life. So I can't sit here and say, go in your family business where I know if 15-year-old me's listening, he's going direct to fucking consumer. But I do think you'll be happy that you did it. Even if you get into big fights with your family, remember, if you don't choose money over the love of your family, it will always be okay. It's always ego of the family members that's the issue, not the money.
Right.
And here's the big one. I was 33 years old, let me put it that way. I was 33 years old, working full-time in a liquor wine store. You have time if you're good enough. That was my pit stop to do some mitzvah for my family. And then I've been on my actual solo journey since 34, so the last 14 years I've been building my world, and I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Cool. One more thing, I want to hang on the Jets for one, and then I have some, I have a lot of questions. But how do you plan on structuring that deal for the Jets?
I think because I know that I don't have the financial ability to buy the Jets within the next 5 years, I'm not spending too much time on it.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, even in the last couple of years, the NFL is now more open to private equity investment. Like the thing, by the time I'm ready, there's gonna be so much change.
Yeah.
Like, who knows with the blockchain, with new regulation, with cryptocurrency, with the New World Order, the BRICS Alliance, the US, the modern Cold War. I mean, I'd like to think I'm thoughtful enough to know that by the time I'm ready to strike in 20 years, the model that the model might be $5 from every human on Earth, or it might be borrowing against all my assets, or it may there's so many ways, you know, or I may meet 2 or 3 people tomorrow, let alone some people on my mind right now that become my greatest business friends, who also might be diehard Jet fans, and they might be my partner group. So it's too far out for me to know. I just know that since somewhere around 1985, I've wanted to try to buy the Jets. I will say it right now on film. Look at Mark Cuban. I mean, let's say I wanted to buy the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never in a million years thought that Mark Cuban was going to sell it this year.
No way.
A year ago, I'd have been like, okay, Mark's a little bit over me, and boom. I know I'm 100% not in control when the Johnson family decides to do what they're going to do. I can only control being a great enough businessman and entrepreneur to create the wealth creation that gives me a shot. I spend 100,000% of my energy thinking about that.
Yeah.
I don't think about deal structure. I don't think about the day. I don't fantasize about it. And most of all, I don't need to actually accomplish it. And this is the curveball to the whole thing. What I didn't know for a long time, until probably my mid-30s, even before the whole Gary Vee thing started, somewhere around then I'm like, oh, I don't need to buy the Jets. I need to try to buy the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say for a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening, that will probably resonate. For the purebred, not the people that use entrepreneurship to make money to hide their insecurities.
Right.
I mean for the purebred entrepreneurs, that will do it for the game. The ones
Yeah.
like me that want to wake up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday to go garage sailing
Yeah.
because buying something for $5 and selling it for 80 is fun
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
To that guy and girl, I think they'll understand what I'm saying with I don't need to buy the jets, I need to try to buy the jets.
You're more so talking about it's really respecting or focusing on the journey more so than the endpoint.
Yeah, when I first started hearing like it's the journey, not the, I'm like, oh, like I didn't think it took me a while before like I heard it over and over again. I'm like, oh shit, like I'm
Yeah.
central casting that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Even to my love of music and entrepreneurship, I love the game of entrepreneurship more than I like myself. And what I mean by that is, I get a sick, almost twisted joy out of when I lose because I'm like, good.
'Cause you
They-
learned.
Yeah, because I'm like, and even more than that.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
He's trying.
No, it's like, I don't know if you see this, I'm getting goosebumps.
Uh-huh.
It's like this sick respect for the game that I like when the game fucked me.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't good
What?
enough.
Yeah.
Somebody else did it better.
Hey.
Or I can see it. It's like being such a good fighter.
Nah,
Actually,
it's something crazy
I think
tonight,
about
yeah.
great fighters. I gotta talk to some of these MMA guys that I
What?
respect. I have to have dinner with one or two of the best of all time.
See, now you're gonna have
Do
dinner
you
with an
think it's
MMA
cool
guy.
that you got
That's
knocked
crazy.
out because you enjoy the fact that you understand why you fucked up? Like,
You got
oh,
it,
I didn't
Gary.
fucking see his fame. Like, do you love the game so much that even at your own expense, there's some sort of joy
Yeah.
beyond just learning?
You gotta be down.
Some sort of like ideological respect for the whole thing. I respect entrepreneurship so much.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in merit so much.
Yeah.
The reason I love sports so much is either you win or lose.
Yeah.
Right? You play. That's why I love fighting. Like
Yeah.
you fight. Someone's gonna win or lose.
Yeah.
It's a fight. That's
Yeah.
why I wish every boxing and MMA fight could not end in judging, because that's not merit. Just let them fight until somebody
Yeah.
loses. Like that would be the ultimate sport, in my opinion.
I like that
want
you
them to
mentioned that
fight
because
until they
we
fucking
did an
die.
acquisition a couple years ago. Didn't work
Yeah.
out, right? But it's like, but the cleanup of everything and like the comeback, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's fucking good,
Good for
right?
you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Um,
No, I, as a matter of fact, I learned pretty early in this latest 14-year journey. I would say it's funny to hear you say that. Here's a fun thing. I try to think about things I'm not doing well because I want to talk more about things I'm not doing well. But the
Yeah.
reality is, I'm very calculated, so I don't mess up often in business. But like two things stand out for me currently. One, when I invest, I've come to realize 50% of the time I'm doing a charity. I'm just writing a check because I like the
It's like
person,
an angel check.
and it's straight charity. And
Yeah.
I've got to really fix that because as you can
Yeah.
imagine, all of those have gone to zero.
Uh-huh.
Number two, I was very bad at M&A early on. I was doing little deals. It was just fun.
Yeah.
It was almost like cool and interesting.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm buying it.
Yeah.
And all of those didn't work either. And
Yeah.
I've gotten much better when I bought PureWow.com
Yeah.
for VaynerX. That was already, thank God, the 9th time I did it. The first 8 were small enough that I could make it to go to zero, but in a weird way, that made it go to zero.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you have to just go through those.
Yeah.
And hopefully that means by the time I get to private equity land in a decade,
Yeah.
I'll be really good because I've learned these silly mistakes now.
By the way, I have to ask you something. So
Please.
the thing that you just did with the, you're like, by the way, I have to talk to a couple MMA fighters. So one of my friends, Nick Gray, asked a question on Twitter. He was like, you ask Gary Vee about Nick, his relationships
Oh,
guy.
Nick Dio.
Yeah, can you talk about
Of
that?
course.
Is that what you just did there? Is it like he's gonna set it up once he sees this clip or something?
Nick Dio?
Yeah.
Yeah, that runs through my mind. I mean, probably Vayner Sports. So Vayner Sports, my sports agency, we're very fortunate. We rep Corey Sandahagen and Stipe Miocic. Like I'm pretty deep in the MMA world. But let's go to Nick Dio. I think that similar to how I was one of the first people ever to have a D-Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Big shout out D-Rock. Dustin's doing it right now. Like literally follow me around and film. I think what I'm doing with Nick Dio is about to become more normalized. Nick's been with me for a decade in the VaynerX world. I like the way he moves. We speak a similar language, much like me. He does certain things that people don't understand, which annoys them and things of that nature. But I know where his heart and energy and capability is, and I feel like, and especially in my new state of being more candorous, I had a great talk with him in Miami recently that I think has really set us in a good direction, and Vegas that has set us in an even better direction. So I'm proud of myself being more candorous of how to tweak things like this because 90% was perfect. He is a VP of relationships. What that means is Nick, for a living, goes out and represents me in the world with people that we feel are emerging often. I would say 80% emerging, 20% established. Nick is one, and Tyler Schmidt would be the other. These are the only people I would feel comfortable that would speak to someone like a Jack Harlow, who I have a nice relationship with, who I admire, who I want to help, and like he can represent me at the Kentucky Derby with him.
Right.
He can be another liaison of scale. I am so busy, but I love relationships. So I think there's a lot of people who, there's a small group actually that will understand what I'm about to say. There's some people like myself that both love the relationship thing and love to operate. As you know, some people love to operate and they have no relationships, and other people are just relationships and they don't know how to operate.
Right.
I do both.
Yeah.
But right now I'm very deep in operations land. Between VFriends and VaynerX, I'm like in it.
Yeah.
Like really in it. Actually, this is a great joy because I'm really not doing stuff.
Right.
My poor PR team's like, come on, do something. I'm like, like I'm just busy. And it's 15 hours a day operating those two businesses.
Yeah.
So he's running around the world. Sometimes I'm DMing someone that I think is cool and they reply, you know, I'm in a nice point in my career right now, especially if they're merging. A lot of them are like, Gary Vee, what the fuck, is this real? I'm like, I make a video, it's really me. Let me connect you with Nick Dio or hit up Zach Owens, part of that team as well, who's in the office helping me look and watch the current world. I have an obsession with the emerging talent. I love the idea of like who I was at 23, and I wish there was a 48-year-old version of me who would have DM'd me and be like, I see you.
Find love.
It would have meant the world to me.
Yeah.
And by the way, of those people that I will speak to on DM and scale with Nick and Tyler and Zach and Ashley and this team that I'm building, you know, 10% of them are going to go on to be really important peeps.
Right.
And it's going to be nice to be there from day one.
Yeah.
10% of them will go on to become great friends and or really, really great acquaintances. 20% of them will be fun to just see at the cliche Formula One Vegas or a conference and just like, it's nice. Like, I'm pumped that now that we have this, the next time I see you at an airport or conference, like, you know, I really enjoy relationships. And 60% will be ones and dones or never happen. That's okay. But I value that. And so I'm allocating resources with people I genuinely, deeply trust, because you can imagine that's the most important thing if you have a human represent you, and that's what I'm focused on.
I love that. So it sounds like Nick is, if I were to simplify this, he's kind of your chief of staff for relationships. He's a duplicate version
that
of
would be
you.
the way you could think about it, for sure. He's just an inner circle human that I feel, when I tell you I don't check in on him, of course occasionally I'm like, yo, what's up? Like, or is anything cool going on? Like, but like, I know he's sitting right now either having lunch with someone. I mean, look, it's a dream fucking job. I make fun of him all the time, like, dude, you got the fun of that. You know? And you have to have incredible trust. I think a lot of people listening to me right now would be like, wait a minute, but then Nick's gonna leave and take all those relationships. And that may or may not be true, but you know, don't forget, Nick has been with me for so long that like, that would only be true if I can't deliver for him, not the reverse. And even if he wanted to do something for himself, that would make me happy.
Right.
And it's all fine. I think the world is abundant. So I really am excited about it, and I think more people should do it.
I think one thing that's underrated from my perspective with you is you're a pretty good identifier of talent. And so let's use a Raghav story as an example. So Raghav, when he first applied to work at my company, he wrote an 8,000 word blog post as an intern, right? And it's when,
and
so when he's
by the way, for everyone listening, this is pre-chat GPT, so he wrote it.
Yeah, he actually wrote it. And then when he said he was going to you, I was like, I kind of want to know the story about how you identified him and how you identified talent in general.
You know, one thing that's great about me is I don't want to say shit when I don't like know or don't like talking about. Real talk, and he's such a key dog in my world, and just talking to him today and hung out with him this week, obviously, with the audiobook, and he's been my writing partner in the last 2 books I've written. The answer is I don't fully, it's a little hazy to me. I feel as though Sid or Andy, Dustin, do you know?
Not sure.
Yeah, I think Andy Kraniak, who led my content team, who's now the president of VFriends, I'm 98% sure that he hired Raghav, and the way it works in that world is similar to, and you're trying to get a sense of how I roll. Once you cross the chasm with me that I trust you, you have unlimited carte blanche, and then I watch it. So with he was hired just like many other people were hired, but then I sensed month 6 in, I'm like, okay, this kid's got something. So I'm not necessarily upfront, right? So I didn't realize it from the interview process.
Right.
I realized it because I'm not good at that anyway. I'm actually not. I'm so optimistic, brother, that I think everyone's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a little
can see
bit.
that.
Yeah, I got that trait.
Yeah.
Too much optimism. So my critical thinking on interviewing is sometimes flawed, but I'm remarkable once I can watch you on the field, right? So I have no idea by resume, and I mean none. But I definitely know 6 months in.
Yeah.
If I watch, and with him, it was just very clear he was very talented.
And it's I think for those watching, it seems like you either have it or you don't in this situation. Like it's a gut thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when you're hiring, you're fully guessing.
Yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah.
For anybody who operates a company, they know. What is not guessing is promoting and firing. Hiring is guessing. Promoting and firing is knowing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is something I've done well with promoting. I've done worse with firing because Gary Vee, the character on podcasts, is on stage, epic at candor. Gary Vaynerchuk, the executive, is too much of a bleeding heart back to charity investing, and I've been overly nice. But that used to be my excuse. What the reality was I don't like the candor and the conflict of telling someone that I subjectively think they stink at their job.
Yeah.
And I also thought it instilled, this was my big mistake actually, let me go deeper for all the people that I hope this helps. I thought it would instill fear. Hey Dustin, I don't think you're a good manager, you're too snarky to this. I would think like Dustin's gonna walk out of that meeting being like, fuck, I'm gonna get fired and start like looking, and that was never, like I didn't know how to get to that place. I've gotten a lot better at sitting down with people and being able to tell them, hey, I'm concerned about these things, but real talk. And I think I've also earned a little bit where I think this will land better, because I was a kid coming up a liquor store at that point. I think I'm in a better place to be able to be like, hey, this is not working, but real talk, fix it, because this is working great and this is working great, and we just tweak this and we're like fucking cruising. So I've struggled with that, and but I can tell you that promoting and firing is knowing, hiring is guessing, and I think people waste too much time hiring. I think too many people have pride. I think a lot of people don't fire people because they don't want to admit they were wrong. And I'm in a great place with it because I think I'm wrong every time somebody starts.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I know that I don't know. I know that we hired him, especially if I make the call with a direct report, that I feel like it could happen, but I don't know.
Yeah, you really don't know till like 6-12 months in.
And as if I'm gonna listen to their fucking what is it on a resume? I don't even fucking
References?
Thank you. Like I don't even fucking know the term. That's how much that's shit. Like oh yes, I'm gonna call the 3 people you told ahead of time to say that you were epic, that you found in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been bad at references. I apologize to everybody who's listening or watching. If I've ever been a reference, I can promise you, I have sugarcoated the fuck out of it.
Right.
Because I usually care more about the person than I do about the business that I don't know about. That's just real fucking talk.
Did you know that Amazon doesn't do reference checks for that reason?
Because Jeff Bezos is smart.
Yeah.
Look, real talk, I don't either. And neither, we don't really.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
sure
not
maybe
helpful.
some of my mid-tier managers do it because they think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's only because I haven't done a good job at explaining it, but like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't believe it for shit.
I'm with you too. I want to come back to this in a second, but I want to talk about the book too.
Okay.
So, look, day trading attention, right? So, actually, I got a good question. So, I was messaging my buddy this morning. So, he has a $400 million a year SaaS, right? And he's like, okay, ask Gary here. I'm going to repeat it. Don't give me the cliche answer. For businesses looking to win in crowded markets, what are the marketing tactics they should run today?
That's a great question. For him, it's 100% LinkedIn. But here's the problem. That's not that that's a cliche answer. It's a very simple answer, but let me break it down for him.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe that if that buddy who has a $400 million SaaS business, which is enormous, if he has a SaaS business, his organization is a sales organization.
Yes.
You can't get the 400 million in SaaS without having sales DNA, which means it's in direct conflict to how I see the world. Meaning, I think being in sales means you're just bad at marketing. I like it much better than when it comes to you than when you have to go sell it. Nike doesn't direct market to me. I go and seek it out. Anybody listening about relationships, it's a lot better when it's coming to you than when you're chasing it. That's just the way the world works. So what I would say to that kind of business, what excites me, why I started VaynerMedia, why I want to do private equity, is I would look at his business potentially to buy it one day. That's what I hope to be in, that level. 97 out of 100 times, which is why I think I have the career I have right this second, I'm pretty sure that I see $200 million in top line growth for your buddy that he can't see. 97, I don't know him. I can tell you right now, the non-cliche answer to that answer is it's all in LinkedIn. Now, that would be like me telling you, if you want to make a lot of money and have a lot of fun and live an epic life, become a professional NBA All-Star basketball player.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, Gary, thank you for telling me that I'm a B2B business and SaaS and I should do LinkedIn. No shit.
Yeah.
Sherlock. So what this book tried to attack, and where I'm going to your buddy, is if he understood and his team understood that if they were making 30 to 40 pieces of creative a day on LinkedIn, and understood that the CPMs that his math team is saying Gary's full of shit when they listen to this podcast, because they're mad at the CPM costs on LinkedIn, because unlike every other platform, they have an artificial high floor.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike all the other platforms that start at 5 or 10 or 15, minimal cents. I think last time I checked, which is a while ago, LinkedIn starts at $2.
Yeah.
Which fucks up everyone. The problem is for a SaaS business, it doesn't matter that TikTok might be 3 cents. You're not gonna fucking sell shit on there.
Right.
LinkedIn is high value stuff. When you go to a private club that serves high-end food and wine, it's more expensive than fucking McDonald's.
Right.
So for a SaaS business on fucking March 29th, 2024, in this exact nanosecond, knowing how to spend media dollars on LinkedIn against creative that will actually get someone who's a CIO or a CFO or a decision maker to buy that SaaS product,
Yeah.
knowing how to do the first second of the video, the thumbnail, the copy, the remarketing, knowing the perfect execution,
Right.
just like training for 18 years and being God gifted in talent and knowing how to play basketball, that is where his growth is. And I mean, period, end of story, aka $400 million, aka millions of dollars spent on LinkedIn between media and creative, but it would work.
Got it. So, and by the way, when you say 40 pieces, you're not saying 40 post creatives, you're saying 40 ad creatives.
Correct. So you could do 4 to 7 of those organically. You could do some of them targeted as paid media, which is a dark post in the old terminology that people know that you would do against employees of a certain company, get that quant and qual feedback. The biggest thing that's missing, especially from this audience, affiliate marketing, math, like really good operators, the math crowd.
Let me tell you, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna be back, yeah.